And typically there's a very long delay between the streamer and the audience viewers, right? And this is true of both. Think of it like your enterprise use cases, where you have large scale, Apple's launching a new product or whatever, right? And they're streaming it to millions of viewers, or even some of the most popular social apps today, Facebook Live, YouTube, Periscope, whatever. There's typically a long delay from the streamer to the audience members, right? And the bottom bullet point there, what I mean by limited audience member participation is, sure, a lot of these apps have introduced things like being able to chat back to the streamer, being able to, Google, for example, recently launched a feature where you can pin your chat, but they don't allow the audience members to actually become part of the stream itself. And that's really what Agora is doing. We have basically built a product that has an extremely, extremely low latency delivery, and that allows for audience members to be, the term we use is beamed into the stream itself, and being broadcasted as a guest participant in a stream. So what are some interesting use cases that you can do with this? So here's some screenshots of some of our actual customers' apps. Some of the popular use cases we're seeing are crowd fundraising, or any sort of live type of commentary with multiple participants. So things like esports, right? Being able to debate which team is going to win the Super Bowl. Virtual talk shows, as well as we see this very popular in, for example, online dating and meeting new people and having interesting content for people to watch. And also the music entertainment industry, think things like singing cover songs, lip syncing, rap battles, again, anything that involves more than one potential streamer from a unique location. So in terms of our product itself, we offer a software developer kit, or SDK, for multiple, for all the platforms listed there, native iOS, Android, web, Windows, and Mac. And not only do we offer the client-side SDK, but we also offer the distribution mechanism. So you don't need to look for a separate CDN or anything else. Agora includes that as part of the service. And we have actually built a network of 100 global data centers to help distribute and push out the content closest to your and your audience member. And we have an extensive team also who has tested this on multiple devices. So meaning Android, as you know, has a very vast ecosystem, and certain things may or may not work, different hardware chipsets, etc. And Agora has done all the extensive work to ensure that you get the most use of your hardware for the performance of the video. And a new interesting feature that we just launched recently, we call it Agora Virtual Lenses, and this is the whole idea of applying masks and filters on top of the video. So I'm sure Snapchat is a household name for everyone here, but this whole idea of virtual masks and filters make the video experience more fun. They turn a 2-minute video chat maybe into a 20-minute video chat, because people are playing around with virtual masks and filters. And the other thing about this feature is it's a potentially new monetization model too, because we're finding often, say you have a streamer, one of your audience members may want to gift the streamer a certain mask just to see them wear it, on top of their stream for a certain amount of time. And that's a very good way to tap into the revenue stream. And we're seeing that almost all the major live streaming apps today in the marketplace have started introducing this virtual masks into their service. So, a couple of big names out there, Facebook, right? Musical.ly, Live.me, etc. They've all introduced this feature into their app. So Agora Virtual Lens, similar to our voice and video SDK, allows you to embed this feature functionality in, and we have an in-house design team that has built a collection of 600 stickers or masks and filters. But if there's customization required, if you have your own idea of what might be interesting, we also allow the flexibility for you to bring us the design, and we can incorporate it into the virtual lens feature. So the technology really behind this is, first we track your face, and today we're using 68 points. We're increasing that to actually 108 points. That will help with accuracy. And once we align kind of the points on your face, we can then apply the mask or filter on top, and it'll follow you, as you move in the camera. And another thing also is we can track more than one face. We can track up to 5 faces, I believe, today with the technology. And another thing that differentiates our virtual mask feature is actually the CPU consumption. So because video typically is very intensive on the CPU, and so is something like face tracking, what we want to do is we want to minimize the CPU impact so that the end goal is your user has a good experience, right? When people are moving their heads around, it's not frozen video, it's not the mask is off to the side while the face is already moved. So this is kind of a lab comparison of us versus some of the other popular apps out there. And as you can see, Agora on a variety of devices outperforms them. I think this matters more for Android, because for iOS typically the hardware is, the CPU specifically can handle these types of loads, but specifically for Android devices in parts of the world where you have a vast majority of kind of lower end devices, it matters more. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show a live streaming demo with the mask filters. But in the meantime, I encourage everyone to go to our website if you have not already and sign up. And once you sign up for an account, you'll be given an API key, which we call App ID. And once you do that, you can just download our software developer kit, and it includes a demo app which you can run, which is very similar to what I'll show you next. So also, if you do that, remember that you will be entered into the prize drawing for the Amazon Echo. So please do that. Yep. Okay, so with that said, let me show you guys a quick demo. So what I've got here, let me just close the background so it's not in the way. What I've got here is my iPhone mirrored via QuickTime, and this is the Open Live demo app that's included in the SK download. I've added the additional masks and filters on top of it, and the way our service works is you basically enter a room name, and if people join you in the room name, then they can see your audio video. So I'm going to enter a room name called We Work. And before you enter, I'm just going to show them kind of locally what you can do. Yep. So I'm already streaming. No one else has joined me in the room. But if you hit this kind of button here, you can see I can start to apply various masks and filters to myself, right? And there's a koala bear. Let me take this off. There's additional things you can do besides stickers. We also can apply magic mirror effects. So here's some interesting ones. You like these ones, huh? Hey, the chipmunk face. People love this one, right? And then we have a feature. We call it beautification, but it's essentially image enhancement. So actually, most of your streaming apps do this, even though you're not aware of it. They can, because we're tracking the face, they can enlarge and shrink, for example, your eyes, or even sculpt your face to be rounder or not. And then this feature right here is a little bit of blurring. So let me show you what happens when I take off this feature. So you can see a little bit more of kind of the finer details of my face versus kind of applying a slight blur. And you may ask, why is the slight blur important? And that's because it's to hide all the little wrinkles and imperfections of the streamer, right? And then this final tab here is further enhancements such as skin smoothing and facial whitening. So this last kind of piece here is showing just color filters. So just like Facebook Live rolled out the kind of the Picasso filter, we can apply a similar filter, or we can just apply like a simple color filter to enhance the mood or change the effect. So let me kind of now show you this plus in a video call. So why don't you join me in the WeWork room as a guest streamer? Yep, broadcaster. Mm-hmm. And make sure you mute when you join, yeah? All right, so there is Azure. And the cool thing now is, Azure, why don't you apply one of the stickers as well too? So hit the smiley face icon. And, yep. It's kind of flattering, so I'm going to change this. Yeah, so you can see now we're having a side-by-side streaming experience, and again, the filters are not only applied locally, but they're being embedded into the video itself. And there's Tony. Tony's being captured as well too, so you can't escape, Tony. Sorry about that. So that's a quick demo. We can actually support up to 7 streamers and 10,000 audience members today. And Azure, why don't we jump to the other demo too? So if you go ahead and shut down and open up an app called Agora Live. Okay. So Agora Live is another reference app that we've produced, and let me just actually change some of the settings here. Let's go to slightly better frame rate, and we're going to join WeWork as well here. So again, I'm streaming, but this is kind of more mimicking kind of a real life social streaming app use case. So Azure, are you joined as an audience member?
I can.
That'd be great. And so we see that this fake user, Huhuran, joined. Huhuran is actually Azure. And why don't you appreciate my stream by gifting me a car or something? Yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And that car could have cost her $5. And as a streamer, now I've pocketed $2. And as the app developer, I've pocketed $3. And then Yeah, sure. So we see a lot of folks have joined, and Agora Live. I'm going to start promoting some of these folks. So first, Azur, would you like to be invited to be one of our audience members or broadcasters? Let's just make sure we mute. And here's Finley. Why don't I just start risking and inviting everyone to join me, just to showcase our capabilities here. So everyone mute, please. Everyone mute so we don't cause some feedback storms. But another thing I want to show you is we have simulcast as part of our capability, meaning that see here is the large view, at the bottom are the small views. I can dynamically switch kind of the large and small views, and it'll switch kind of the video streaming capabilities. Because for a small view like this, you don't want to be pumping out full resolution and frame rate necessary, because that would just eat up a lot of bandwidth. But kind of this dynamic switching of streams allows you to build a use case similar to like this. So, all right, that's kind of it for the demo. And I'm going to tear this stream down to everyone's disappointment. The last thing I wanted to close with, let me open the rework. The last thing I want to close with is we have actually, to make life easier, published the source code for both those apps that we showed you. So we're gonna follow up with email, but that first link takes you to the Virtual Lens Mask demo that I showed you, both in iOS and Android. And then that second link there for Vivid is the Agora Live source code. So you have both of those at your disposal. With that, open up to any questions that you guys have.
Yeah, my question is, you guys what kind of infrastructure are you guys using to deliver these services?
Yeah, so our data centers are a mixture of public cloud and privately kind of servers in racks, such as rack space, and we have them kind of scattered around the world. And the way our service works is actually the user is always connected to their geographically close data center, right? The streamer is, and then that stream is dynamically routed through our network of data centers so that it's routing past internet bottlenecks and challenges. Another piece that I did not mention actually is we are actually also known for being very network resilient. So even in the most challenging environments, think areas of bad connectivity, such as potentially India, China, or a bad spotty 2G, 3G wireless connection, we can still maintain a pretty good stream. One more.
Have you considered the potential for reducing your infrastructure costs by allowing users to route their data streams directly to each other over something like DHT or something like that, just peer-to-peer mesh networking?
Yeah. So I think peer-to-peer doesn't necessarily work for the streaming use case, which is due to memory, but for like a one-to-one call or something, it is something that we have considered, and we're possibly in the process of implementing.
Well, because the reason why I mentioned DHT is because that's how BitTorrent uses magnet links to bootstrap peers on Swarm. So that's one to many potentially. So I'm just wondering if that use case could be applied to something like WebRTC. I don't know how compatible that would be.
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind about video is that it is very, very real time. So unlike BitTorrent, right, where I can distribute to you, you can distribute to you. By 2 hops later for video, like you've lost that latency advantage, right? So again, there's some use cases where peer-to-peer is helpful. For example, if I'm making a video call and both of you guys are right next to each other, it may not make sense to route through our data centers. But yeah. Any other questions?
What's your plan to, so I guess what you need now is a really rock solid real world demonstration at high scale. What is your plan to move forward and demonstrate this?
Yeah, so we're going to be at South by Southwest in March. So any of you guys coming, please visit us. Our events and marketing team is working very hard to help us do that. But you guys are also part of that. Please spread us on your networks and let people know we're out there. Yes?
I've got one question. Sure. Can I use the JavaScript SDK on Raspberry Pi? Because I tried it on pretty much all of the Raspberry Pi browsers, and it didn't.
Yeah.
I was wondering if
Sure. So you can use the JavaScript SDK on Raspberry Pi, but what you're probably running into is performance limitations, right? The video being slow versus just being able to connect. And a lot of that is possibly, honestly, Raspberry Pi does not have that much juice.
Right.
And in order for us to fully get the performance, we would have to build a kind of hardware accelerated kind of video engine to take advantage of Raspberry Pi. At the moment, because there's so many of those type of hardware use cases, we tend to focus more on the general mass market, Android, iOS use case than specific hardware platforms.
Have you ever thought of maybe just like allowing the SDK just to stream out, out loud, rather than like than having the streaming and whoever's on the other side?
Got it. You mean like one directional?
Right. Because I think it has some pretty cool use cases.
Yeah. So what I showed you there was actually one way. So if you're an audience member, you're just watching the stream. You're not sharing your video. Yeah. We can work together to address your use case.
With the sticker features, such as the buddy masks, it might be perceived as a catch-up feature with Snapchat, even if that's an unfair criticism. Do you have any plans for a real USP in terms of the gimmicks and add-ons? You don't have to tell us what they are, but do you have something? Are you going to define yourself with some clustering?
I can probably answer that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I will be more than happy to answer the question. Actually, a lot of those you might see as gimmicks, small features. But let me introduce a couple use cases, right? You have a terminal cancer kid, telemedicine event, right? Which one would you see? Him, the kid, old doctor telling him you have maybe 30 days to live, or it's a Mickey Mouse showing up telling me, hey, here's some bad news. Well, good news is you're gonna come to see me, but bad news you have 30 days, right? So I'm talking about there's always use case. If you don't think about this as just some stickers, think this as why people spend time on the mobile phone, right? It's getting to a virtual world. The sticker represents the future of the Photoshop that paint the virtual world, so-called West world, right? It's basically paint that. Think another case, Comic-Con, right? I talked with a company called Super Deluxe. So TNT putting a lot of money into those YouTube production videos. I asked them, hey, why can't you have, personally I'm a fan of Archer, the animation, like why can't you have animation live shows, right? Well, the production is so high to draw 20 minutes, right? Well, you don't have to. With this tool, one thing James didn't show is basically you could have two animation people, two stand-up comedians talking on their cell phone from their home and showing up at live broadcasting as two animation people on the front. The production cost is so small, right? But people love it. That's another niche. So those are the two very small examples I think where this can apply. The other thing is with video. Video is actually more than just the video stream. Video is actually large data stream, right? I think Snapchat is putting more of their emphasis on how to extract more contextual information from the videos, one of the research direction. The other thing, if you think about this tool, a lot of times the media that we produce is being influenced by what tool is available for us, right? 20 years ago, I would be a genius to put up a web page on Geocity, right, which I did, right? And my dad's like, wow, you only being American 1 week, you already done that. You're really a genius, right? That was 20 years ago. So right now nobody cares about it, right? 10 years ago, be able to do a streaming event, it was a very popular thing. That media was streaming event. I think this tool is pushing that media towards a user-generated engagement at the global level. Not sure that answer that question.
Sure. I mean, are you largely a group of engineers, or do you have a creative team developing these ideas to make your product groundbreaking? I guess.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think so far our team is mostly engineer. We want to finish the tool first,
Sure.
and that's really no end to it. So we may just stay as a pipeman, right? But we want people here to bring their dream to basically to build on top of us and tell us what you need. How do you think the future is going, and how we can help you? Oh, there's a question in the back.
I guess it's kind of a follow-up on that. I think it's so hyper-competitive. The stream service is attractive, but the mask itself, while it's attractive as well, just to have that without the creative team, people switch apps in the consumer space, which is exactly what that's for. So while it might work, I think that was a good example. We're doing a couple of use cases you suggested. People get tired, they want to move on to the next thing, especially in consumer fast. And they don't want to use some of your other clients if they see the same masks, and then they see them over here, they already move on to the next thing, kind of having a mask array. Facebook acquired it, the masks keep getting better and improving on Snapchat, they move to that. So I think there might be room to build, even though you don't have those masks locally, to be able to facilitate companies to use the streaming with their own creative teams and keep up with new things.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, something behind the scene for the mask is one of our design. Two of our design goal. A is low consumption on Android device, right? The other one is basically allow artists to create those masks, not just engineers, right? We're working on that. Something will come up very shortly. That was one of our design goals, because you cannot beat 10 million artist creation in the global. We want to open it up. The strategy over here is not sell you the print, give you the printer and sell on the cottage, which give you the whole thing.
I'll speak to that too.
Yeah.
So one thing also you notice from the demo that I showed is we don't fixate the layout, we don't dictate how your app functions, right? So our goal, just like your question about stickers, is to provide you the base tool set and you build your custom experience and differentiation on top of it.